Tonight, Mark Carney pursuing a new trade war tactic with Donald Trump. The Prime Minister's pledge to revive tariff talk.
We're matching what the United States has done.
What it means for the current Canada-U.S. trade arrangement. A family's frightening loss.
The hardest thing for me is not having the pictures of my children from birth on.
How quick-thinking neighbors help them escape. Plus, a different type of deal-making.
I'll do it for if you put this one in.
How a symbolic souvenir is connecting the competition at the Canada Games.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. The Prime Minister made a major move today in a bid to restart trade talks with the United States. Mark Carney announced Canada is dropping some retaliatory tariffs on American products. CTV's Abigail Beeman is tracking this story. And Abigail, how did this change in tactics roll out today?
Heather, after a phone call with U.S. President Donald Trump Thursday, the Prime Minister is now trying to sell Canadians on the idea that no new deal with the United States is the best trade deal in the world.
We're matching what the United States has done, what the President has done. We have the best deal of any country with the United States right now.
As of September 1st, Canada will drop counter-tariffs on U.S. goods covered by CUSMA. Those have been an irritant for Trump, and the Prime Minister indicated that in their Thursday phone call, Trump said getting rid of them would kickstart negotiations, which Carney described as intensifying. In the Oval Office, the President said he now wants to be very good to Canada.
He's removing his retaliatory tariffs, which I thought was nice. And we're going to have another call soon. Okay. Yeah, we had a very good call.
You're getting closer towards an agreement on trade?
I like them.
Carney is trying to sell this as matching the U.S., using that word multiple times, since the U.S. has no tariffs on CUSMA-exempt goods. But the tariffs that remain from the U.S. on steel and aluminum are higher than Canada's.
We're not raising those today. We've matched the tariffs on autos, similar structure as the U.S. We do have a difference between our tariff on U.S. steel and our tariff on U.S. aluminum. Those are part of the intensive discussions that we're underway right now.
While the Conservatives are asking, where's the win?
Today we learned that it has been yet another capitulation and climb down by Mark Carney. His elbows have mysteriously gone missing.
Carney also said the renegotiation of CUSMA could take as long as 18 months to work out and will likely look different given the trade environment is so changed. Trade experts say what happens there will be the real issue for the long term.
I am somewhat concerned about what are we going to give up once we actually get to the CUSMA renegotiations.
The Prime Minister has long talked about trying to diversify trade in the face of a U.S. trade war, and next week he goes to Germany to work on that, bringing along a few key ministers with him. Heather?
Abigail Beeman in Ottawa for us tonight. Thanks. Ontario's Premier was quick to respond to the announcement with a statement on social media calling for an agreement that provides relief to tariff-impacted sectors. Doug Ford's statement on X also went on to say if the federal government can't achieve that, they need to hit back hard against U.S. tariffs and provide additional supports. A tour bus crash in New York State just across the Canadian border has killed at least 5 people and left dozens more injured.
We're getting reports of a total of 52 patients, multiple severe injuries, several still trapped, 52 patients.
54 people in total were on board the bus when it crashed on a New York highway, hitting a median and rolling onto its side in Pembroke, about 45 kilometers east of Buffalo. The bus had been returning to New York City after an excursion to Niagara Falls when the crash happened. Doctors handled dozens of patients with varying injuries.
We have some folks that have some head injuries. We have some folks that have some extremity fractures.
The ages of the passengers on board range from 1 to 74 years old. Meantime, authorities are still trying to determine how the crash happened.
The cause of the collision is still under investigation. However, mechanical failure as well as operator impairment have been ruled out.
No charges have been laid and no word so far on whether any Canadian citizens were on board. An Ontario family is sharing their harrowing escape from the explosion and fire that decimated their home early this morning. Cell phone video captured the flames engulfing the home in Georgetown about an hour from Toronto. The fire started in the garage where a pair of electric vehicles were stored and quickly spread through the home. The family rushed to a window to call for help. Luckily, neighbors heard their cries and quickly came to their rescue.
Patrick saw a plywood next to the neighbor. We took that, we put that against the house, and we just like, yo, just jump, just jump. The first kid jumped, Patrick caught him. The second kid, we got him.
The parents then made their way to the ground, escaping the flames. One of the homeowners who was injured in her escape says the hardest part of the ordeal is losing so many memories to the fire.
Honestly, the hardest thing for me is not having the pictures of my children from birth on. That's, I think, the hardest thing for me. Everything else is just, it can be purchased again.
The family says they're grateful for the life-saving help from neighbors. The Ontario Fire Marshal's office is now investigating a possible cause. To the FBI search now at the home of former Trump administration official turned staunch critic John Bolton. Officials say he's under investigation for allegedly disclosing top-secret information. Here's CTV's Judy Trin.
Just after dawn, federal agents armed with a search warrant showed up at the Maryland home of John Bolton, the former national security advisor to Donald Trump. They also raided his office just blocks from the White House.
No, I don't know about it. I saw it on television this morning. I'm not a fan of John Bolton. He's a real sort of a lowlife.
Bolton is reportedly under investigation for mishandling classified information. Since being fired by Trump during his first term, Bolton has turned into a fierce critic of the president's foreign policy.
We're at risk of a self-destructive trade war being launched. Putin, KGB agent that he used to be, sees Trump as an easy mark.
In 2020, Trump tried to block the publication of Bolton's book, The Room Where It Happened, on national security grounds. That investigation was closed by Joe Biden. It's unclear what new information the FBI has uncovered to reopen this case. Bolton has not been charged.
This is going to almost certainly be viewed as a selective and vindictive prosecution.
Analysts say the Bolton investigation is part of a pattern of intimidation, the most visible being Trump's deployment of the National Guard in Washington to crack down on crime.
It's better than it has been in years.
Hundreds of troops sent by governors of Republican states are now patrolling the Capitol, a city that voted overwhelmingly Democrat. The guards are authorized to carry weapons.
This is pure political intimidation by Donald Trump. That's what it's about. It is performative politics, but it's going to be very expensive.
Political watchers say Democratic senators could act as a check on the power of the Trump administration by cutting off funding to the National Guard and to the FBI. But that's risky because it involves voting to shut down all of the government when Congress resumes in September. Judy Trin, CTV News, Washington.
The U.S. Department of Justice has released audio recordings of recent interviews with the woman at the center of the Jeffrey Epstein case, Ghislaine Maxwell. Among the topics she addresses her interaction with U.S. President Donald Trump years ago.
The president was never inappropriate with anybody. In the times that I was with him, he was a gentleman in all respects.
The audio recording is part of the DOJ's interviews with Maxwell in July, during which she also stated she doesn't believe Epstein committed suicide in prison and that her friend, former U.S. President Bill Clinton, never went to Epstein's private island. The UN declaring today that famine has taken hold in Gaza City, and without action, it will get worse.
It is a famine that asks, but what did you do? A famine that will and must haunt us all.
A new report says more than 500,000 people in the war-torn city are facing starvation, destitution, and death. UN Chief Antonio Guterres calls the situation, quote, a man-made disaster, moral indictment, and a failure of humanity. However, Israel rejects the report, saying the conclusions are based on Hamas lies and ignore extensive humanitarian efforts. Some Canadians with disabilities who rely on the government for crucial financial support were left in a lurch today. Recipients of the disability benefit speaking out after not receiving their scheduled payment. CTV's Adrian Gobriel on the delayed deposits and criticism of the program.
Canadians who depend on federal disability benefits have been left with an empty feeling at the ATM this week.
I checked and it's not there, and I went, okay, no breakfast.
In July, Ottawa began making payments through its new federal disability benefit that tops out at $200 a month for a total of $2,400 a year.
Pay for their food, pay a backlog of bills and debt, pay their rent.
This past Thursday, Canadians living with a disability, like Victoria State, were supposed to receive the program's second payment. Many have been left empty-handed.
Excuse me, you started a program for people who are struggling.
CTV News called the Canada Disability Benefit Call Centre hotline. We were greeted with this voicemail.
Due to a system issue, some Canada Disability Benefit payments issued by direct deposit for the month of August 2025 will be delayed. We apologize for the inconvenience.
In March, Prime Minister Mark Carney eliminated multiple cabinet positions, including the now former Minister for Diversity, Inclusion, and Persons with Disabilities. Advocates say issues like this are proof that Carney's move was a mistake.
This basically means that we are lumped into a huge portfolio that the current Minister of Jobs and Families is responsible for. So we are not a top priority.
We asked the federal government for an explanation as to why payments haven't been made. A spokesperson didn't directly answer our question, saying in part, they are pleased to confirm that the majority of CDB payments are completed. A limited number of client payments remain outstanding due to an isolated systems issue.
You don't start a program and then drop the ball. Thank you very much. You people are getting a paycheck. You got a paycheck because you can get food. I don't got a paycheck and I got no food.
There was some good news late this afternoon. Following our questions to the federal government, we began to hear from some who say they've now received their deposits. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Aurora, Ontario.
Some encouraging signs on Canada's economy today as June numbers show an increase in retail sales. CTV's Kamal Karmali now on why we're seeing growth when many predicted a recession. Kamal.
Heather, retail analysts say this growth doesn't necessarily show signs of a super strong economy, but it's not as bad as many expected given the trade war. Retail sales rose 1.5% to more than $70 billion. That's because all 9 Canadian sectors showing either no change or an increase in sales for June. The sectors with the highest increases compared to May: clothing with over 5% growth, building material with supplies with over 2%, and food and beverage seeing more than a 2% increase in sales. In May, retail sales slumped, dropping more than 1%, largely because of a fall in vehicle sales, with tariffs on aluminum and steel and the trade war playing a role. But for June, auto sales remained mostly unchanged, climbing less than 1%.
If we talk about, for things from a consumer standpoint, we are still seeing wage gains happening. The labor market is starting to, contract a little bit, but not a heck of a lot yet. It's mostly concentrated in tariff-related sectors where we're starting to see the bleeding happen. And so as a result, consumers are still spending.
And as minor as these increases are, retail sales are actually expected to drop again in July by about 1%, according to Statistics Canada. Heather.
Kamal Karmali in Toronto. Thank you. Hall of Fame jockey Ron Turcotte, who rode Secretariat to the Triple Crown in 1973, has died.
Secretariat has opened a 22-length lead. He is going to be the Triple Crown winner.
The Canadian-born jockey won more than 3,000 races over his illustrious 2-decade career, including the Kentucky Derby, Preakness, and Belmont Stakes twice each. His time as a jockey abruptly ended when he fell off a horse, suffering injuries that made him paraplegic. Secretariat's record time in the Belmont Stakes still stands 52 years later. Turcotte's family confirmed he died of natural causes at his home in Drummond, New Brunswick. Ron Turcotte was 84. Coming up, old wounds and new hope.
It's been a long, long fight, but I love her so much.
A grieving family's decade-long quest to bring a missing Indigenous woman home. New details have been revealed about the investigation into two children who vanished from their Nova Scotia home in early May. 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and 4-year-old Jack were reported missing on May 2nd. Court documents show their mother, stepfather, and biological father all took polygraph tests, and all were found to be truthful. During the search, a piece of a pink blanket was found. The parents confirmed it was Lily's. Documents show another piece of that blanket was found in the trash at the end of the driveway. The investigation is ongoing. The search for the remains of Ashley Shingoose is now underway at a Winnipeg area landfill. She's one of 4 women murdered by convicted serial killer Jeremy Skibitsky. And the Manitoba government recently announced it will fund the search for another woman. CTV's Alex Carpa on a family's hope to bring her home.
Susan Caribou often comes to the Brady Road landfill to sing and drum. It's her way of connecting with her niece Tanya Nepanak, who has been missing since 2011.
I'm not gonna give up. I want to bring her home.
Investigators believe Nepanak's remains are at the landfill. Winnipeg police conducted a 6-day search in October 2012, but that was unsuccessful. But last week, Manitoba's premier said the words Caribou has been waiting a decade to hear.
We are making plans to search for Tanya Nepanak as well.
I was surprised. I was shocked.
The new development is connected to the search for another woman, Ashley Shingoose, which has begun at the same landfill. She was one of 4 women killed by convicted serial killer Jeremy Skibitsky in 2022. Premier Canoe said they've started a test phase in the search for Shingoose here at the Brady Road landfill, with a small team beginning excavations to determine what a search will look like. But once that search for Shingoose is complete, then the Premier says they will look for Nepanak. Nearly 14 years later, Caribou says they have been left with no answers, but this latest news is the closest Caribou says she has come to finding out what happened to her.
And it's been a long, long fight, but I love her so much.
Many Indigenous families hope this search will lead to others.
Nobody's final resting place should be in a garbage dump, and regardless of whether they're Indigenous or not, the expense or the effort of searching landfills for loved ones is really important.
As for Caribou, she is relieved at the promise of a search, but wants to see action.
We're going to bring Tanya home this time.
All she wants is for her niece to be returned home for a proper burial, which she says will provide much-needed closure for the family. Alex Carpa, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Still ahead, an urgent appeal to animal activists. What's behind a last-ditch effort to save an ostrich flock in BC? We'll leave you tonight with some tense trade discussions, just not the kind you've been hearing about lately. On the East Coast, where hundreds of athletes have converged for the Canada Games, some tough negotiations are underway between those seeking their favorite pins. CTV's Garrett Berry shows us how a deal is done.
In this early morning lineup, dozens wait for a chance at an exclusive Canada Games souvenir pin. Zyler O'Meara can't pass up this chance to make a few side deals.
I'll do it for if you put this one in.
Zyler and his cousin Willa are some of the youngest participants in the biggest unofficial sport in the Canada Games, pin trading.
Oh, thank you. I traded the whale for a potato.
They're not quite medals, but these pins might be the second best bit of hardware you can take home with you this week.
We have a lot of free time, so I like to go around and just talk to random people and just make fun of it, and it's just fun to bargain.
What I'm trying to do is get enough bags so they can say, yep,
that's enough for a whale pin.
A tradition at the Canada Games for decades.
It's something that everybody can do. So not everyone stands on the podium, but everybody can go out and trade some pins.
Official supplier Laurie Artist Limited says pin fever has reached new heights here in St. John's.
When we first started, we really wanted to make sure that we've got kids from PEI talking to kids from Newfoundland or BC or Nunavut or what have you. And there's nothing easier than just, do you want to trade a pin?
And if you're among the most dedicated, you can even take on this rowing challenge in downtown St. John's, where a 60-second workout wins you this City of St. John's pin.
There are 240 different pins to collect at this Canada Games, a full set nearly unheard of.
I just want as much pins as I can.
So some are rarer and more valuable than others. The prize of the day, an exclusive whale pin, which Zyler charmed his way into this morning. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
Such a fun tradition. That is our newscast for this Friday. I'm Heather Butts. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night, and I'll see you again tomorrow. A BC ostrich farm trying to save its birds from an avian flu-related cull is not giving up hope. The farm lost its court appeal and is now calling on supporters to come protect the birds in person. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson on this latest twist.
It's the decision Universal Ostrich Farm dreaded.
It was devastating and heartbreaking.
These ostriches have been on death row for 8 months since an avian flu outbreak at the farm last winter. The farm fought a Canadian Food Inspection Agency order to destroy the surviving birds, but has now lost its federal appeal, and the CFIA has the legal green light.
All we've been asking Canadian Food Inspection Agency from day one is to test these animals. So they haven't been on our property for 5 months.
The farm argues the hundreds of ostriches that survived the outbreak are healthy and should be studied. They're now holding out hope Canada's top court will hear the case and calling on supporters to gather at the farm.
I think we're already at 20, and there's just a road of people. I'm getting messages from people driving and flying from Ottawa and Ontario. And again, I just say, rise up, Canada, because we can make Canada great again.
Animal advocates are also speaking out, saying given how much time has passed, the CFIA should reconsider.
What would be the right move for them is to still back off and say, look, the context has changed. We thought it was important to kill these birds 8 months ago. It probably no longer is.
A virologist disagrees and says destroying the ostriches is the only safe option.
We have lots and lots of data historically from many different countries showing that that is the only reliable way to prevent the spread of H5N1 to other farms.
She believes this has become more about politics than saving animals. The farm does have high-profile U.S. supporters, including members of the Trump administration. As for when the CFIA could move in, it will only confirm whatever is decided will not be shared with the public in advance. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Still ahead, medals aren't the only hardware up for grabs at the Canada Games. Why these commemorative pins have become the currency. That's coming up.